Welcome to Swine Time podcast here at Pipestone. I'm your host, Dr. Spencer Wayne. Thanks for tuning in for this, our first podcast. These podcasts are intended to be short, easy to listen to podcasts and discussions with people who can offer deeper insight into things you may have read about in lay literature, in the news, heard it on the news. This is going to give you a deeper understanding and maybe a different angle to view the current situations in. Today, I have a guest here, Dr. Gordon Spronk. We'll be talking about African Swine Fever and not about some things you might have already heard. He'll be talking about maybe things we don't think about often, in particular animal welfare and the impact on human emotions. So I'd like to introduce Gordon. Gordon, you and I have known each other for a while. Would you please just introduce yourself a little bit and
Sure,
give some background?
Thanks, Spencer. I've been a veterinarian since 1981 when I graduated and joined Pipestone. Have been my whole career here, Spencer, so have had many opportunities, including visiting China with Bob Morrison starting about 15 years ago. And so that opportunity to go with Bob, and then later as a Pipestone staff, we go to China, and we've made nearly 300 visits there now as staff. So we should openly declare we can't know everything there is about a 5,000-year-old culture, but we've made enough visits to observe a few things.
Sure, yeah. 300 visits would, I think, give you a pretty deep background compared to what the average person would have here. So, regarding your experience there, what would you describe the average farm type to be? If you could just give a quick range of the
Sure.
building and barn and farm size types
Sure.
and the people involved.
And I think that's important for our Pipestone owners to know that we've replicated the same farm styles there as we have here. So the facility is exactly the same as you'd walk in over there, with a couple of exceptions. It would have an additional wall around the entire facility. It would have the addition of a guard, a 24/7 guard at the facility. It would have it would have a cook. It would have two dormitories, an outside dorm and an inside dorm, and it would have all internal higher levels of biosecurity with transfer chutes than we would have here. So many things on biosecurity have already occurred over there that we don't have here.
Okay, so probably a range. You got some U.S.-style farms with, I'd say, very high-level biosecurity, all the way down to backyard pigs
Sure.
floating
So
around.
the industry, that's why Bob went 20 years ago. The U.S. Grains Council sponsored Bob because they knew that agriculture was changing, specifically livestock production changing in China. And at that time, 50 million sows, which just recently now the Chinese government has reported that there's less than 30 million sows in China. Of those 30 million, again, no one really knows, but they speculate that about 10 million are the new modern style, North American style production. The other 20 million are still backyard.
Okay. So getting right to it, if we move beyond just the sheer dollars involved and the impact of the disease, would you talk a little bit about what are the welfare considerations for the pigs involved? What have you seen that you would describe as maybe being shocking to us?
Sure. Well, here's what I think we're trying to make sure we communicate very clearly to our owners and our Pipestone producers that African swine fever is a different virus than any of us as either veterinarians or producers have ever dealt with. It's the worst virus that pigs can be infected with in the world. And it's worse by measure of if you get the strain that's the deadliest, 100% of the pigs die. Now, we can't say that with any other virus. Foot and mouth doesn't kill the pigs. It just causes a claw lesion. Hog cholera doesn't kill the pig, 100% of the pigs. PRRS doesn't kill 100% of the pigs. PRV doesn't kill 100% of the pigs. This virus kills 100% of the pigs, and I think that's the purpose of our time together today, Spencer, is to tell everybody we don't want this virus because of the animal welfare issue, not necessarily the economic issue.
Okay, yeah. In the past, Gordon, when we've looked at videos from China, that's definitely the most shocking thing you see. When you look at a video of thousands of pigs in an open pit alive, being buried alive.
And I would encourage our listeners, we'll probably give you a link that you can just bring up a YouTube from China. You'll see shocking videos of pigs being buried alive. And they're doing that in China for a couple of reasons. One is the differences in the culture in regards to their level of animal welfare. The second, however, this particular virus, because it's carried in blood, they don't want to euthanize the pigs using any kind of deadbolt or rifle or anything. They want no blood. So what you'll see in these videos, if you choose to go there, is you'll see pigs being buried alive in China. And that's the animal welfare concern. We took oaths, Spencer. You took an oath, right? What's the part of your oath? You can recite your oath now, Spencer.
Maintain livestock resources or protect livestock resources.
Specifically to the animal welfare.
Alleviate animal suffering was the other component to that.
Alleviate. So we've taken an oath as veterinarians, Spencer. That's the point of this podcast, that as veterinarians we have an oath for animal welfare, and we want to clearly communicate to our owners and to the entire industry. We have clear and distinct animal welfare concerns that should alarm us, should alert us, and create some sense of urgency that we should do whatever we can to keep this virus out of our national herd.
Comment briefly on the impact on the people. You go over there and deal with owners, people working in the barns. What is the biggest shock factor or thing that you see it affecting people?
Well, once you get your farm is infected with this virus, I've seen behavior completely change. One, because of the shocking shock value of how the animals are cared for and how they're dying, just the mass scale of the death. But the second is just the economic devastation. And so we're not even focusing on the economics. They're literally losing their farms. They're literally losing their livelihood. Some people would claim in China now that 50% of the industry may be lost. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm proven that I'm wrong. The point is that if I am wrong, at least consider that, it may be purposeful, and you may profit from considering that we're raising this issue about animal welfare.
Okay. Yeah, so you got a huge animal welfare piece of this. There's definitely
the worst you've ever seen. Now that's quite a statement, but it is the worst you'll probably ever see.
Yeah, I can imagine nothing worse than 100% mortality.
Nothing worse than 100%
pigs
mortality
dying in front of you as it occurs.
Exactly. And with no intervention, there's nothing you can do. There's no vaccine. There's no antibiotic. There's nothing you can put in the water. There's nothing you can put in the feed. There's nothing you can do to stop the mortality other than stop the spread or stop the transmission. And that's why when they're burying live pigs, they're trying to save other pigs. That's really why you're seeing that, because that's the only intervention left.
Okay. So when it comes to the U.S., we don't have it here. We've not had it here. We're worried about getting it here. And a lot of the attention, I think, when people talk about having here is what do we do when we get it? How do we react? And that has its own quagmire of if, then, and
Sure.
what do we do? But as far as prevention...
Well, I think, first of all, we have to have a vision that we can keep it out. At least start your mind thinking that, we can keep it out. Second, we have to be intentional, how we behave, how we make decisions. No, we are going to keep this virus out of our national herd. And then third, the resources, the money, the staff, the funds. So for instance, we need more beagles at our national borders. We all as producers need to ask our federal authorities, who have the authority to protect our international borders, to do their job. How do they do their job? Every load coming from African swine fevers, every plane load should have a beagle to inspect to make sure that people aren't taking raw meat, which this virus indefinitely lives in. They need to find those meat products and prevent their entrance into the national herd. Second, as producers, we need to be aware of, as if we're buying feed and feed ingredients, if they're coming from an African swine fever positive area, we need to ask our vendor to make sure that they've either put mitigants or interventions in place to prevent the possible transmission of this virus through those ingredients or to lower that risk. Those are two specific things we as producers can do.
Okay. Regarding border security, you've traveled a lot.
I have.
Are we woefully short of security at the airports?
We need 600. There's 20,000 border agents. Of those, 2,500 are agricultural specialists. We need 600 more of those. We need 70 more dog teams.
Okay. That's defined.
At
Here's
a minimum.
what we need. Okay.
At a minimum. To meet confidence intervals. Remember, there's over 300 ports that we're protecting our borders for. So as producers, we simply want our federal authorities to do their job. They have the authority. We're simply asking them to do their job appropriately.
Okay.
We want standards like New Zealand has to protect their agriculture. We want standards like Australia has to protect their agriculture. I remember traveling to Australia the first time. They fogged the plane to kill any insects or to kill any fruit flies coming in. They fogged the whole plane.
After you were out of the plane?
No. Before you landed. They fogged the plane going to Australia.
While you were in the plane?
While you're in the plane.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody out there that's traveled to New Zealand and Australia, just you can comment about their standards for protecting agriculture. And that's simply, as producers, we want our government to protect our agriculture because this is $1 billion loss. Not only will pig producers be affected if this virus enters our national herd, corn growers will be affected. We need less corn. Soybean growers are going to be affected. We need less soybean. Chicken growers will be affected because the pork will be so cheap, they'll buy less chicken. Beef will be affected because they're going to buy cheaper chicken and pork. This affects the whole barnyard. All of us will need to be aware that it's billions and billions of dollars. We could better spend our time and effort now, not wait till we get it.
Okay. Gordon, the last thing you talked about there in the prevention strategies would have been feed ingredients. This is a little bit of an inkle into the next podcast we're going to post, and that's with Dr. Scott D., and he's going to talk about his efforts and research he's done demonstrating methods that we could possibly use in preventing these foreign animal diseases.
He's got some mitigants he's doing research on, so that'd be a great session, Spencer, to interview Scott on what his research is showing on mitigations.
Okay. And that's next time, published by us here. And next month, as said, Scott D. talking about feed mitigants and efforts to prevent infection, contamination by ingredients coming from overseas, high-risk countries. This podcast can be found if you search in iTunes, Spotify, or the Google Play Store music app. You should be able to search under Swine Time. I think it's all one word, SWINETIME. Search under that. Thanks for your time today. Tune in next month for another edition of Swine Time Podcast.